All right, we'll call the meeting to order. We'll begin with the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, well, first order of business we have here is the Elementary School Building Committee.
Mr. Chairman, may I request that the record show that I'm recusing myself from this matter as well?
Okay. Are you speaking?
So we're here tonight.
Well, tell us who we are, who's here.
We are the building committee.
Yeah, but tell us who.
And Bill Claybaugh, Hank Mason, Carrie Kojal, John Graziano, Ruth Miller. Did I say Bill? Okay, I didn't know if I missed you.
All right.
But we also have our OPM, John Whitaker, here tonight, and he's going to explain what we're asking of you.
Okay. John, you want to come up and talk into the microphone there, so the millions of people watching on TV can hear what you have to say?
Is this okay?
Yeah.
Sitting like this? Hello, everyone. We had a meeting with the MSBA as part of the process to receive funding from the state. You have to go through several different processes. You're at a pretty critical juncture right now. Last week, we had a meeting with what's called the Facilities Assessment Subcommittee, and that was requesting formally that we be allowed to build a new elementary school on the Templeton Center School site. The Facilities Assessment Subcommittee endorsed that. It now goes to the full board of the MSBA, who is very likely to endorse it as well, and allow you then to go into what's known as schematic design. The point of schematic design is that now we have the engineers, the architects, and the various consultants really study that site, work with the town to figure out logistics and everything about the design of the building, and then we're going to go to 2 construction cost estimators to get independent opinions of what it will cost to actually do the project, so that we can bring all the information back to the building committee and back through you and the other appropriate boards, so that you can make a decision about what you want the project to be within that site, and ultimately to take it again to the board of directors in November at the MSBA. And at that time, we would be asking to enter into a formal contract with the MSBA that said that if you do this project for this amount of money, they are guaranteeing that they are going to reimburse you this much money. So that's a very, very critical milestone to come out of. Once the MSBA approves that in November, you then have 120 days from that approval point in order to get your votes to secure those funds locally. If you don't either make it to the MSBA board meeting in November or don't get the votes, then you're removed from the program entirely, and you'd have to start all over again at some future point in time. So what we have is a good start now that we've studied all these various sites, and we have a site, Templeton Center site. It has some issues around it. It's not the biggest site in town, but it's a good, very viable site. As you've seen, the designers have come up with a plan that fits well and meets the educational program. Now what we ask for your approval for is to allow us to go into contract with the various entities to do this study. All the funds exist. As you recall, the town appropriated funds back a year ago, March, I want to say. So the funds are in place. I have proposals and contract amendments from the design firm and from my firm in order to complete these next stages, and we seek your approval tonight to enter into those contracts.
Okay. First of all, the 120 days is from the date of the
Board meeting, November 18th.
November 18th. So,
Essentially mid-March of 2016.
okay, so it's 120 days from November 18th. Can you tell us specifically who these contracts you mentioned?
Of course. So the big contract is with SMMA. SMMA is our design firm, and their fees, in total, what they're asking for a contract amendment for in total is $314,000. That's composed of $250,000 for the architects and the various engineers, mechanical, electrical, civil, plumbing engineers, life safety engineers. And then geotechnical consultants, so they study the soils and the conditions of the earth around the site for $22,500. Traffic consultants, who we need to hire, they're studying the traffic flows and how we get buses and vehicles in and out and around there. They're $18,500 of that total that I read earlier. Some survey work around the site for $10,000, hazardous material investigation in that existing school building for $8,000, and hydrant flow testing, which we need to do to just study the life safety and whether we can sprinkle the building adequately, for $5,000. So in total, that's $314,000. And I have copies of these. I have 3 copies of the estimate, May, if that's helpful. And then the other, should I keep going, or?
What's that?
You want me to pause, or should I?
No.
Should I keep going? Okay. So the other one is for my company as the owner's project manager, and we need to hire a construction cost estimator as part of this process. The design team has a cost estimator, and we're hiring one on your behalf. So we have proposal for $12,000 to complete that estimate. That's part of our total amendment that we're seeking is $27,000. So $12,000 is for the cost estimator, and $15,000 is for our services.
Okay. 15 for you, 12 for the cost estimate.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
That's it. And we can talk about schedule also, but perhaps we should
Well,
start
why don't
with
we
these.
just stop here for a minute, and does anybody on the board have any questions?
I do.
Yeah.
So the money that was appropriated was 500 and some change. Based on what you spent, we have the 341 left.
That's correct.
Yep. And these contracts are fixed value contracts, so there won't be, we get down the road and it's out, we ask for 314, but now we need another 50. These are fixed contracts, these are what the values are.
The designer's contract is a fixed fee contract. Ours is an hourly not to exceed, so there is a potential that ours could come in under. We have a small amount, if you enter into these contracts, you have a small amount of contingency still left over. I believe it's only about $3,000. But yes,
Yes, okay.
everyone is well aware of what the services need to be, and that there is no more money.
Yeah, okay. That's all I have.
That's all? Anybody else? All right, let's continue.
Okay, so we'd ask that you approve those contracts. We'd like to get the design team going as quickly as possible, because from a schedule standpoint, as I described, we've got to hit, in order for you to remain in the MSBA programs, we have to hit this November board meeting. The issue with the MSBA is that in order to enter into a board meeting, you have to submit the materials about 6 weeks in advance. So by October 1st, I think, I have the exact date, we need to make our submission to the MSBA, which means we need to get working through the summer to do it. So we have set up a series of board meetings every month with the building committee to keep that process rolling, and we'll supplement with additional meetings. But we would like to get the design team, as I said, going as quickly as we can.
Do we have those contracts?
Yes, we do.
Is there a time on this?
The time is tied to the services, so it's going into the submission of these reports
Okay,
and through the vote.
all right. Being as we didn't get to see these beforehand, we have a meeting next week, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Could we take these tonight and put them on next week's agenda?
Yes, of course you can.
Yeah, because like I said, we haven't seen them.
Sure. Shall I leave them with you like that? Is that okay?
Okay,
I think that's all I have, unless you
All
have
right.
questions for me.
anybody have any questions? Anybody from the building committee have anything they want to add?
If you do have any questions, get a hold of John or myself, or I guess it'll be Dr. Hammond after this week, so
All right.
answer any of the questions you
All
want.
right.
And
Yeah.
and you need 3 signed copies, John?
Yes, please, that
So
would be.
3 at a time.
1 stays with them, and how many do you need?
I need 2 to come back to us, so 1 for the town, and 1 for us, and 1 to go to the state.
Okay,
And so that's what I left, there's 3 sets of each different one. The contracts, so these are just amendments to the existing contracts that you already have in
Okay.
place for the services.
all right. So we just have to sign the amendments. We have the existing contracts?
Yes.
All right. Do we know where those are? Okay.
Thanks.
We're trusting you, Holly. All right. Anything else? If not, thank you, John.
You're very welcome.
Can I
Thank you.
just make one statement,
Sure.
please? Just wanted to say thanks to the building committee for all the work that they've done for all these years, and to thank Superintendent Miller for all her time, and we wish you well on your new endeavor.
Thank
You've done a
you.
lot for us, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Town Administrator report.
Okay. You have copies of warrant for the town meeting. I want to provide some background to what we're attempting to do here. After the annual town meeting in May, there were some discussions with the Department of Revenue office in Springfield regarding the state grant. Also discussions with Senator Goby's office. The town received an earmark in the state budget for 2015, compliments of Senator Brewer, that provided that we would receive $85,000 to do the playground in Templeton Center. The stipulation was that we should spend the money and do the project by December 31st, 2014, which is what we did, and that we would then be reimbursed afterward. This is not uncommon for the state. They tell you to spend the money up front, and they will reimburse you. Well, we learned early in the fiscal year that the state had a $750 million gap in the budget, and the governor took action to close the gap, and one of the things that he did was he eliminated the grant for the town. Also for other towns. Other towns ended up in the same situation as Templeton. The consensus at the DOR is that we should treat this problem the same as we treat a snow and ice deficit, that we should carry forward the shortfall in the hope that either the governor will choose to restore the grant, or the line item in the budget that is currently in the Senate version of the budget, compliments of Senator Goby, will be approved by the House and signed by the governor, and that we will get our $85,000 sometime during fiscal 16. That's their recommendation. That's issue number one. And so we had to take some action in order to make that possible, and that's reflected in the transfer list that you have. Secondly, we continue to see our veterans' benefits line item under pressure. We've had a number of vets returning. They are entitled to benefits. The town is certainly obliged to provide the benefits, and we have an energetic Veterans Services Officer who is seeking out veterans in need and providing the services. And so when you look on your transfer list, you will see that in addition to the amount that we transferred at the annual town meeting, that there's some additional need for veterans benefits funds. And thirdly, as you know, in the 2015 budget, those who prepared the budget level funded health insurance and I think $799,000. Our health insurance costs went up 4.1% this year. And although we have transferred some money at the fall town meeting in the hope of covering the need, we find at the end of the fiscal year that more money is needed, and so some additional transfers are on this list for the town meeting. All in all, we need to make these transfers to finish up the fiscal year. We do not have a deficit. We have the funds to cover. And so it's just a technical matter here that we need to have a town meeting to do this. The state does provide that in the last 60 days of every fiscal year, cities and towns can transfer on their own without a town meeting, I should say towns, without a town meeting, can transfer up to 3% of a particular department budget or a maximum of $5,000, whichever is greater. There are some items on this list that exceed the 3% and the $5,000 ceilings. And so the only way we can do this legally is to have a town meeting. The town has recently adopted a bylaw that provides that we need to keep our warrant open for 2 weeks. State statute provides that for a special town meeting, you have to post for 2 weeks. So we're looking at a month. Under the regulations that we have, we're looking at a month that's required to call the town meeting. When you ask for advice as to how to do this at the end of a fiscal year, you are told what the law says. And then we all get informal advice, both from town council as well as from the DOR. None will tell you to do anything illegal, particularly the town council. They could face some serious problems if they advise you to do something against state statute or your local bylaws. Off the record, informally, and having talks, I know that there are a number of communities that have had town meetings to close out a fiscal year beyond July 15th. It is not uncommon that that happens. However, in a conversation after we had agreed to do this last week, in a conversation with the DOR, they learned that we were going to do this, and Kelly apparently was informed by them that you can't do that, that that's illegal. I then called the Department of Revenue office the next day and said, well, what do you recommend? And they said, we don't have a recommendation, that you're bound by a variety of rules, and it seems as though you're in a bind. So we are required to close out the fiscal year and make any transfers by the 15th of July. And yet, the DOR will not allow us to go beyond that, and clearly we have to do this. Looking for informal advice, I did send you a message over the weekend. The best workaround for this is for the Board of Selectmen to close the warrant tonight, schedule a town meeting for July 14th for one item, that the transfers that I have here, and to open a second warrant for June the 27th.
July the 27th.
I'm sorry, July the 27th, and allow 2 weeks. So if there are any residents of the town who would like to file citizens petitions, that they would be given that opportunity and a 2-week period to do so. So we accommodate any who feel that they need the 2 weeks to do that, and we also accommodate the Department of Revenue and make these transfers by the close of the fiscal year on the 14th. I think we have it all arranged so that if you agree to do that tonight, close the warrant, sign the warrant, we'll get it posted. We'll come within the 2-week posting deadline. We can have what I would think would be a very brief, very low attendance town meeting on the 14th, and then we can accommodate any residents who want to file citizens petitions by having a second meeting, if necessary, on the 27th. If no one files citizens petitions, then we would just cancel the second meeting. So that's what I'm proposing. Close one, open another one, and we'll do our best to work around the rules and regulations and finish out the fiscal year. Again, I mean, it's complicated, but I think we should certainly stress to the public that we do not have a problem other than rules and regulations. We're going to finish this year in the black. We will not have a deficit, and we'll go into the next year, I think, a bit more stable financially and better able to provide services.
All right. Comments, questions? I think, and since I've spoken with you and given it some thought, although we either have to violate a state law or regulation or violate the town bylaw. And my understanding in matters of this nature is that the state takes precedence.
They do.
So I think that we've worked hard to gain some credibility from the state, and I think we've done a lot this year. I think that it would be foolish not to continue going forward.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it's unfortunate that we have to, break one or the other, but I would certainly be more in favor of breaking the bylaw than a state law. And, we have made positive progress, and we need to get this behind us and continue moving forward.
And we're going to accommodate the bylaw, too. With
Yeah, by
this
doing
other
the second
method,
meeting, that's a good-
allowing 2
good
weeks there.
compromise.
And clearly, the advice is very clear from both the state as well as town council. You do not violate state regulations. If you have to make any compromises, compromise your own bylaws, but do not compromise state regulations, because that's certainly more trouble.
All right. Any other questions, comments? All right. Do we have a motion to approve the warrant for June 14th as presented?
No, don't we have to
Close it.
the warrant first? We have to close,
That is
don't we
a-
have to close our current warrant first?
That's right.
We have to change the date on it too, because it was for the July.
Yeah, it was, didn't we
Yep.
just, let me see, we
Well,
opened the
we have one here
warrant
dated Ju-
on the
July
22nd, and
14th.
we were closing it when? I didn't.
Close it tonight, and then open
No, when
another
were we closing it before? So it would have been.
next week.
Next Monday. I think.
Next Monday.
July.
All right.
Yeah. And we have no submissions at this point,
sixth.
All right.
Okay.
so.
So can we have a motion to close the special town meeting warrant?
I make a motion to close the special town meeting warrant that we opened on June 22nd.
Do I have a second?
Second,
Moved and seconded. Diane?
Yes.
Doug?
yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Ken?
No.
And I vote yes. All right, motion carries 4-1. Okay, now we have the warrant, which was put before us here, says July 14th on it. It has one article.
Yes.
Does anyone have any questions pertaining to the article? If not, can we have a motion to approve?
I would make a motion that we approve the warrant as written.
Warrant to sign.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Diane?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Ken?
The state put us in this position, so I vote no.
And I will vote yes. The motion carries 4-1. So, do we have copies of these to sign?
I have it right here, yes.
Okay. I just caution you, I don't know if the constable, if a constable or constables are on vacation this week, so.
Howie has checked. We've checked.
Okay, you did, good.
Do we have to make a motion to have the meeting on July 14th?
Open a warrant for July the 27th.
Well, our
Well, no,
meeting,
I mean, I asked for a motion to
so
approve the
approving
wa-
this,
to
oh, okay, so
approve
that
the
makes sense.
warrant for
Okay.
July
Just
14th.
checking.
But don't we still need to set the date and time for the meeting?
Yeah, that's kind of maybe what I was getting at. Sorry.
I saw, while we're working that out, I did talk with the outgoing and the incoming superintendents and the town will not be charged for using the auditorium for these meetings, so.
What time is the meeting? Let me see what's on here.
All right,
Doesn't
so,
say a time, right? Oh, sorry.
so the meeting will be July the 14th at Narragansett Middle School, starting at 7 PM.
Just want to make sure we do it right.
Yep, yep, that's what's in there.
All right, yeah.
That's what it says already, so.
Yeah,
So,
And since we've approved it as written,
yep,
it's already set.
we're all set.
So now we need a motion to open a warrant for a July 24th,
7.
27th,
27th.
special town meeting.
All right, do we have a motion to open the July 27th warrant?
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Diane?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes?
Julie?
Yes.
Ken?
No.
And I will vote yes. Motion carries 4-1.
Okay, next item, thank you. Next item, I've distributed copies of the new state law regarding sick leave. Applies to all businesses and government entities in the state. The new law provides that employees will earn 1 hour of sick time for every 30 hours worked. That translates into 1 sick day for every 6 weeks of work, assuming a 5-day week. This is state statute. Our personnel policy provides a more generous provision for full-time employees, but this would apply to part-time employees of the town who are not covered at this point by our local policy. So this will extend this benefit to part-time employees. There will not be a cost to the town other than what we have in the current budget, because if you are a part-time employee and you're sick, you take the day off, you are paid for that day. But there's no additional cost for that. The town just loses your services for that sick day. So it's the law. We are trying to determine from the Attorney General's letter that we received what they mean by a vote. It's my view that this can be accomplished by a vote of the Board of Selectmen to put it into effect. I'm puzzled that they're requiring a vote because it's a state statute. We don't have any choice. But the Attorney General's letter says it has to be a vote. So I have no doubt that the Attorney General would not mandate a vote of the town meeting, given that most towns would not have their annual town meeting at least for another year, and perhaps they'd have to wait until the fall. The statute does take effect on July 1. So while this doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, we are required to have a vote, and I would urge the Board of Selectmen to vote to adopt this state statute.
There is a safe harbor until, there is a safe harbor
Yes.
until the beginning of the year, but
Exactly.
there's a safe harbor where you can, only until the beginning of the year. So you have to have it into effect, and you have to have a full policy written, and, which we'll have in the next, hopefully, 3 weeks. I
And
mean,
we've-
she has it all here, we talked about it today, but,
We've sent a message to the Attorney General asking if
okay.
it means we need a vote of town
Right.
meeting, or if a vote of selectmen will suffice. So I'm urging the selectmen to vote, and if we get a message back from the Attorney General that we have to have a vote of the town meeting, we'll schedule that for the fall.
Or the 27th. Put it on the 27th.
No, we could, yeah.
if we have a meeting.
Yeah,
I don't know if we should open it up just for that, but,
yeah.
you know, it's the law, we should do it.
Well, I would make a motion that we adopt and implement the state statute regarding sick time.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All right, move the second to approve the sick time in accordance with the state law. Do we have any discussion, questions, comments? If not, Diane?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes?
Julie?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so that's unanimous.
Okay. As you know, our health agent has taken another position, and his final day is tomorrow. We are now in a recruiting mode. I've not yet had a discussion with the health board at this point, but I have set up an appointment for Wednesday for a good candidate that I'm aware of, and we'll work with the Board of Health to try and identify a new health agent as soon as possible. Phil Leger did say that in order to avoid major disruption, that he would be available on a per diem basis between now and whenever we're able to find a replacement. So, I attended the MSBA meeting. Well, I attended the meeting that they discussed earlier, and I just wanted to make you aware of the deadlines here. The board vote on November the 18th will be very important. We'll deal with collective bargaining issues in executive session. Also gave you a copy of the Economic Development Conference that I attended last Thursday, the Governor's Economic Development Conference for Central Massachusetts. It was worthwhile. And also, we still have our goals for the year that we have to settle upon at some point. And that is all I have, Mr. Chair.
All right, seeing how we don't have the goals on the agenda for tonight, can we put that on the agenda for the next meeting, and everybody be prepared to comment on the goals and what they'd like to see?
Okay.
All right.
Did we vote on the closing for the warrant?
Yes.
We did, 7:13 at noon,
What's that?
July 13th at noon, did we vote on that?
No.
I didn't hear
Closes
that.
tonight.
No, the other warrant.
No, we did not do that. You're right. So we have to have a motion for
All
that.
right, do we have a motion to close the warrant?
I'm sorry, Holly, what date, July 13th?
The warrant on July 13th at noon.
I make a
for
motion
the-
to close the warrant on July 13th at noon. No. I knew there was something I forgot.
Second.
Moved and seconded to close the warrant for the July 27th meeting at July 13th at noon. Do we have any comments, questions? Not? Julie? Ken?
No.
Bob?
Yes?
Diane?
Yes.
And I will vote yes. Motion carries 4-1. All right, so do we have anything else before we do selectmen's comments?
I have one thing.
Yes.
In last week's meeting, I had been working on trying to figure out the 5,000 and the 3% budget. Bob had come to me late in the day. When I brought in what the actual money was short, you paid for the transfers that were under the 5,000. However, that sheet, it didn't balance because I had not had the time to figure out what could be moved in the 5,000 and what could not be. So you have a sheet in your packet that gives you what the actual transfer is for the under 5,000 that we are allowed to move in that 60 days. So you'll see that these are the actual numbers of what is the short and what is the over. So I need you to do an amended vote for approving these transfers from the one that was approved last week.
Now, does this affect the sheet that?
Yes.
No, okay.
Yeah, these are the ones
It's
that.
this sheet here?
Yes, these are the ones we can actually do legally on our own without the town meeting vote.
Okay.
And as the week has gone on, we've gotten more exact numbers, so these are exact numbers as of today. Like, for example, the legal, it came right under now the 5,000, so that was taken off of that list because we got the actual June bill and it wasn't as much as we were anticipating. So a lot of these now have changed some based on what actual numbers we do have. And a lot of the departments now have their actual ending bills of what they actually have,
Okay.
so.
So, we need to approve this in lieu of the one we approved last week?
Last week, yes.
Okay.
Because in the last week, I had all of the 5,000 items, and then I had the summary of what we would need to do at the town meeting. And the
Okay.
difference was the 31,365.88, which I can't do an entry with that difference, so I have to make it an even in and out. So I had to, once I made all of the adjustments for the town meeting, these are the ones that were left that were under the 5,000 that could be transferred. So this is the exact transfer amount.
Okay. So, we need a motion here to,
And I don't know if this makes it easier, this is what you had last week, that you had approved here with the difference at the bottom, the 5,000, and then you have this, that's the actual transfer.
So instead of 31,365, it's only 14,156?
Well, this was all of this with the budget amounts, that's what Bob wanted me to have, is what was the 3% of the department budget, what was the actual over and short, and the funds to be moved.
Oh.
So when I got to this point, this is what was an overage of these amounts, but then we were short on that summary, the 31,000, and I can't have that number just hanging out there until we're done with the town meeting vote, so I had to make it to where it would be even. So I would have two totally separate entries that would balance.
So what does the motion need to be?
all right, what would you call this, Kelly?
These would be the transfers, the under $5,000 transfers for the last 60 days for the town.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the under $5,000 transfers.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All right. Does anybody want more time? Do you have any questions of Kelly? All right, hearing none. Diane?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
And I will vote yes. Vote is unanimous. So,
And
make sure,
Holly will have.
Holly, do you
a
have
sheet.
this one?
Yeah,
Okay. Well,
and to get signatures so that I have that on file for, if these are what was approved. Thank you.
All right. Any other business? Not, Diane, you have any comments?
No.
Doug?
The only thing I'd really like to say is I'd like to, thank Phil Legier, our health agent, former health agent. He's had done a great job for the town, and I really appreciate him being willing to fill in, on the per diem basis till we get, a new replacement, so.
Julie? Ken?
Yes, last week I attended the North Quabbin, Community Coalition's conference on opioid addiction. which I thought was very well attended. And even though we're not officially part of the North Quabbin community, Phillipston is, and they're part of our school district, so the information that was provided was very good. Our state representative was in attendance and provided baked goods, and as well as the police chiefs of several local communities were in attendance as well to provide information regarding the huge issue that opioid addiction is in our communities, particularly in the smaller ones. I think a lot of times we tend to think of drug abuse and use problems as kind of big city issues, when really the figures that were shown show that opioid addiction disproportionately affects smaller communities. Actually, the smaller the community, the more likely you are to have opioid issues. And the one piece of information that I really wanted to provide from that conference was that Narcan, which is the drug that blocks opioid receptors in the brain to stop someone who's basically ODing to death, it pushes out those opioids from those receptors in the brain, so that the person's body realizes that it needs to breathe again. That it is actually available under Massachusetts state law without a prescription. Anyone can carry it. So while I'm sure that our emergency rescue as well as our police officers carry it, anyone can carry it without a prescription. You can get it from almost all local pharmacies for, and your insurance will cover it, even if it's not for you, for a $3 or $4 copay, and the Walgreens in Greenfield will provide it at no charge to anyone who requests it. So I thought that was a very interesting thing to know about, something you can kind of throw in your purse that may save a life. And the last point I wanted to make about that was the safe harbor rule that was signed into law recently as well, that if you were in a situation where you find someone overdosing and you call 911 to help them, the police cannot prosecute you for possession of a controlled substance while you are, in essence, being a good Samaritan and helping with someone to save their life. So I thought that was really good information, which, granted, I don't practice criminal law, but I was unaware of that development. So it's important to know that if you are using with someone who is ODing, that you can call 911 without fear of prosecution for simple possession. But so that was, I just wanted to thank again the North Quabbin Community Coalition, our state rep that was there, who attended as well, and the information that was provided. If anybody would like any of the information that was provided or would like to be put in contact with the North Quabbin Community Coalition regarding opioid addiction, you can email me at kcrobinson7@gmail.com, and I would be happy to forward that information. Or if you email Holly, I'm sure that she will get your name and information to me, and I'll be happy to forward that to you.
Chief, you had the town buzzing on Saturday morning.
Don't know anything about it. The only thing I'd add on, to expand on Ken's lecture a little bit, was that Narcan or naloxone actually is a shorter lifespan than the heroin that they're using. So as a respiratory depressant, heroin stops your breathing. It slows it down first and then eventually stops it altogether. And as such, Narcan reverses that, so you start breathing again and you come back to life. Unfortunately, Narcan lasts a lot less long than the heroin that it's treating. So if you reverse a heroin overdose with Narcan, and they say, I'm fine, everything's good, I don't want any more help, then they drop back down into what they were in before they started with the Narcan. So the potential, education about Narcan is important, because the way the drug acts is different than most people understand. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
It's like, kind of like if you're allergic to bee stings or peanuts and you give yourself a shot of EpiPen just to counteract the anaphylactic shock, you still, as they say on the commercial, should still seek immediate medical attention. It's the same thing with Narcan. It kind of stops the immediate threat of death, but a half hour, 40 minutes later, you could be right back in the position. So it's important to seek emergency medical treatment.
I just want to wish everybody a happy and safe 4th of July. Make wise choices out there. And by all means, we have a great day planned on the 4th up at the Common, reading of the Declaration of Independence. The Council on Aging is sponsoring a mac and cheese cook-off with a lot of activities up there. So I would urge everybody to take some time and try to get up to the Common on Saturday. That it? So, we have to go into executive session, don't we? All right. We're going to go into executive session for Chapter 30A, Section 21.3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and I so declare it does. And also for Chapter 30A, Section 21.2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct, no, we're not going to be conducting collective bargaining sessions. So we will go into executive session for those reasons. We will not come back into public session.
So moved.
Second.
Julie?
Yes.
Doug? Doug?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
And I vote yes. So we will go into executive session. Let's give this young fellow about a little time to clear out.